Hello, my friend. Welcome to your sleep story. My name is Stephen Dalton. I'm an Irish storyteller, and it's my great privilege to be the voice that you listen to as you go to sleep tonight. Tonight you will travel back to Viking times, to a peaceful time in their history. You will visit a Norse farmstead on a beautiful summer's day and spend the day with these peaceful people. You will hear about how they view the world, and you will share some deeply calming moments with them. The day will end as the rain begins to fall, and you will gather in the Longhouse of the village with the elders who will tell you Norse stories. This is part of my Immersive history series, where I speak for much longer than normal, and it will end with sleepy affirmations. Just one small thing. If you're not subscribed to my channel and you listen often, I'd be so grateful if you subscribed. It's free and it helps a lot. Thank you. Okay, let's do the relaxation session now, which will take a few minutes before tonight's sleep story. I'm going to count down from 10 to 1, and as I do, allow yourself to let go more and more. 10. Feel the support of the bed beneath you, or the floor, or whatever you lie upon tonight. And beneath all of that, feel the support of the earth, our home, our constant support. And as you become aware of that deep, constant support, see if you can let go a little more now. Ease into this moment a little more now. 9. You are safe. Allow my voice to be an anchor of safety tonight, to be a friend. Know that my voice will only ever take you to safe places. And with that feeling of safety that is offered to you tonight, allow yourself to sink into this moment more now. 8. Feel into your body now. Where are you still holding? Where do you still feel tension or even pain? Maybe it's in your feet. Maybe it's in your lower legs. Maybe it's in your thighs. Maybe it's in your belly. Maybe it's in your chest. Maybe it's in your neck and shoulders. Maybe it's in your hands or your arms, or maybe it's in your face. Just let go now. 7. The day is done. Whatever has been, has been. Whatever will be, will be. Whatever thoughts you might be having, no matter what they are, they don't serve you now. So when and if thoughts arrive, don't fight them. See them for what they are. Thoughts. A part of being human. And as they arrive, see them and let them go. Let them drift away like leaves on a moonlit river, or clouds passing in a starlit sky. Six. This is your moment. This is your time. You deserve rest. We all do. Allow that fact to enable you to arrive in this moment more and more now, to move closer to deep rest more and more now, to continue to let go more and more now. 5. Peace lives within you. It is always there, waiting to be found, waiting to be felt. It is a constant friend. See if you can find that friend tonight. Find that peace within you. 4. Perhaps allow a little gratitude now. Gratitude for this moment. Gratitude for the simple things, for the shelter you have tonight, for those you love, for the opportunity to rest. 3. Begin to engage with your imagination now. Begin to see yourself on a beautiful longboat approaching the shore, the beautiful land of Norway in the distance. This is a place far away from all that you know. Allow yourself to experience it to the full. 2. Checking in with your body one more time now. Your body has worked hard for you today. It's time to give it rest. And 1. Completely letting go now. As I tell you Tonight's sleep story. The boat moves toward the shore, its wooden hull gliding through the silvered water with a quiet, steady ease. The oars have long since been drawn in, and now the tide itself carries you the final distance, ushering you gently toward land. Ahead, the shore is soft with sand, edged by seaweed and smooth stones, where the waves break with a rhythmic hush. Beyond the beach, the land rises into rolling green fields, threaded with narrow paths that lead toward a scattering of wooden buildings nestled against the hills. The air is thick with the scent of salt and sun-warmed earth, mingled with the faint sweetness of summer grass. Overhead, the sky is vast and blue, the kind of blue that seems endless, untouched by storm or shadow. A handful of seabirds wheel lazily in the air, their cries sharp against the stillness of the morning. On the shore, a man stands waiting. His figure is broad and steady. He's clad in simple, well-worn wool. His beard is flecked with grey, and when he raises a friendly hand in greeting, there is something measured and certain in the gesture, like a man who has lived many seasons and expects many more. The boat shudders as it meets the shallows, the keel scraping softly against the sand. And as you step onto solid ground, the man inclines his head in welcome. "You have arrived on a good day," he says, his voice rich and warm, edged with the roughness of a man accustomed to wind and work. "The farm is at its finest in summer. You feel very safe here," as the man turns toward the path that leads inland, and you follow, your feet sinking slightly into the damp earth. With every step, the sounds of the sea soften behind you. You can still hear it, but now as well, you can hear the rustling of wind through the tall grass, and the distant murmur of voices, and the occasional lowing of cattle. The farmhouse awaits, nestled in the embrace of the hills, its wooden longhouse dark against the brightness of the sky. There is work to be done, of course. There always is. But here, in this quiet corner of the world, work is not a burden. It is life itself, unfolding in the steady rhythm of hands and earth, of sky and stone, of summer's golden light stretching long into the evening. The man beside you does not slow as you near the house. "There is food inside," he says. "You will eat, and then we will work." And that is all. No welcome, no ceremony, but it is enough. The year, by the way, is 894, and you are in the lands of the Norse, in what is now western Norway. The farmstead where you stand is not far from the fjords, those deep, glacial carved inlets that wind through the land like the veins of the earth. Beyond them, past the restless sea, lies the wider world, the kingdoms of the Saxons and the Franks, the distant isles of the Gaels, and beyond even those, the lands that only the most travelled of men have seen. It is a time of change for the Vikings. The great raiding days are not gone, but they are no longer what they once were. There is still silver to be taken, still kingdoms to unsettle, but the English are learning to resist. The armies of Alfred, King of Wessex, have begun to push back against the Norse, driving them from their camps, forcing them to scatter. Across the seas, the Frankish lands, once easy prey for ships that slipped silently up the rivers, have begun to fortify. The old ways, taking what cannot be defended, are no longer as simple as they once were. And so, many of these former warriors have turned their hands to the soil, not because they have forgotten war, but because war does not feed a family. A sword does not plant barley. A shield will not see you through the long, lean months of winter. Here, at this farmstead, life is quieter, though not without its hardships. The land is rich, the summers long and green, but winters are harsh, and the work never ends. This is a home of farmers, herders, traders, and smiths, men and women who understand that strength is not only in battle, but in the hands that build, in the backs that bend, in the patience to endure. The man walking ahead of you is one of them. He does not look back at you as he leads you toward the Longhouse, nor does he explain your place here. That will come in time. For now, there is food waiting, and then there is work to be done. The man walks ahead, his steps steady on the worn path. But after a moment, he glances sideways at you. He is measuring, perhaps, not your strength, nor your worth, but something quieter, something harder to name. Then, with a small exhale, as though the weight of silence does not suit him, he speaks. "I have been here all my life," he says, his voice low, rough with years of speaking over the wind. "My father before me, and his father before him. This land, it holds us, not with chains, not with duty, but with something deeper. When a man works the same soil his whole life, he becomes part of it. The earth knows his hands." He pauses, pushing aside a tangle of low branches. As the path narrows, the scent of pine rises sharp in the air. "You may have heard men speak of fortune," he continues, "of gold, of silver, of great feasts in far-off halls. I have seen men chase such things until nothing of them remains. A man who desires too much is like a tree that grows too tall. Sooner or later, the wind will take him." He gestures ahead, where the farmstead comes into full view. Fields stretching in golden green waves, sheep grazing along the slopes, the Longhouse standing dark and solid against the sky. A handful of people move between the buildings, their figures half lost in the brightness of the sun. A woman carrying a pail of milk, a child running barefoot through the grass, an old man seated on a low stool, carving something from a block of wood. "This," he says simply, "is fortune." He stops for a moment, resting a broad hand on the rough trunk of a birch tree, as though feeling the life within it. "I rise with the sun," he says. "I labor until it sets. I eat what the land gives me. I drink water that runs cold from the mountain streams. I sleep beneath a roof built by hands I have known my whole life. Some call it a small life. I call it a life without waste." He turns back to you then, his gaze steady, unreadable. "You will come to see it too," he says. "But first, You will work. And with that, he starts walking again toward the Longhouse, toward the fields, toward the rhythm of the day that has not changed in 100 years. The path widens as you near the heart of the farmstead. The earth beneath your feet firmer, packed down by years of footsteps. Smoke rises from the Longhouse ahead, a thin ribbon curling into the pale sky. The air is thick with the scent of turf smoke and roasting meat, the sharp tang of fermenting ale somewhere unseen. It is not the scent of indulgence, but of necessity, of a meal that will fill bellies before the next labor begins. The man leads you toward the Longhouse, but he does not go inside. Instead, he veers left toward a low wooden fence where a handful of sheep graze, their wool thick and unshorn. A boy, no more than 12, sits on the fence rail, whittling a length of wood into something finer, his bare feet swinging idly beneath him. At the sound of your approach, he looks up, his expression unreadable, neither wary nor welcoming. "This is my son," the man says, gesturing toward the boy. "Eric." The boy nods but says nothing. He turns the piece of wood in his hands, inspecting his own handiwork. The man watches him for a moment, then reaches over, taking the knife gently from the boy's grip. With a slow, steady movement, he shaves a fine curl from the wood, then hands the blade back. "Slower," he tells the boy. "Let the shape come to you. Rushing ruins the work." The boy nods again, but there is something different in the gesture this time. A quiet understanding, an unspoken respect. The man turns to you. "That is the way of everything," he says. "The land, the animals, the work of your hands. Nothing good comes quickly." He lets the thought hang there, as if weighing whether it is worth saying more. But then he simply gestures toward the fence. "Come," he says. "It is time you learn." The boy shifts aside, making space for you to stand beside him. The sheep move lazily in the grass, their ears flicking at unseen flies. One of them turns its head toward you, eyes dark and calm, chewing in the slow, thoughtful way of creatures that have never known hurry. The man crouches, resting his forearms on his knees. "Do you know how to shear a sheep?" he asks. Before you can answer, he studies your face for a moment, then gives a small shake of his head, as if deciding something for himself. "No," he says, "not yet. That will come later." He pushes himself to his feet and gestures toward a wooden pail resting near the fence. Inside, nestled in a bed of straw, are several pale brown eggs, their surfaces smooth and unbroken. He lifts one carefully between his fingers and turns it over once before placing it back. "Gathering eggs," he says, "is a small thing, but it is not nothing. The hens will not thank you for taking what is theirs. You must be gentle, quick, and calm, no different from anything else on a farm." He nods towards the Longhouse, where a low wooden structure sits in the shade of the eaves, its roof thatched, its walls marked with scratches and old paint. From inside, there is the soft clucking of hens, the rustle of straw as they shift in their nests. "Go," the man says. "Take the pail. Be careful." The boy, Eric, slides down the fence and picks up the pail before handing it to you. He does not speak, but there is something watchful in his gaze, a quiet curiosity perhaps, or a faint amusement at seeing a newcomer given the simplest of tasks. The henhouse is warm and dim inside, the air thick with the scent of straw and grain. The hens pay you little mind, save for a few that lift their heads at your approach. They are not skittish, nor are they entirely trusting. They shift, ruffle their feathers, murmur softly in their own language as you reach into the nests, feeling for the smooth weight of an egg beneath the straw. One by one, they settle into the pail. The warmth of them surprises you, as though they still hold the memory of the bird that sat upon them. When you step back outside, the man takes one glance at the pail, nods once, and turns without another word. Not praise, not criticism, only acknowledgement. He walks toward the Longhouse, toward the heart of the farmstead, where the sounds of work continue in their steady rhythm. "Come," he says. You will eat. Then the real work begins. The Longhouse is ahead, dark and solid against the brightness of the day. Its roof is steep and thick with turf, built to hold warmth through the long winters. Smoke curls from the hole at its peak, carrying the scent of burning wood. The walls are made of heavy timber, some of the beams carved with twisting knotwork. Simple, nothing like the great halls of chieftains, but enough to mark this as a home built with care, meant to last through generations. The man strides ahead, pushing open the wide wooden door without ceremony. You follow him inside. The shift in light is immediate. The brightness of the sun is left behind, replaced by the dim glow of fire and smouldering embers. A single long hearth runs through the center of the hall, lined with flat stones. The flames burn low now, the heat steady, controlled. A pot hangs over the embers, the smell of rich broth rising from within. Benches run the length of the hall, their surfaces worn smooth by years of use. At the far end, a loom stands tall, strung with threads that catch the firelight. A woman sits beside it, her hands working the shuttle back and forth. She glances up only briefly at your arrival, then returns to her weaving. The man gestures for you to sit, as he takes his own place at the bench. A wooden bowl is set before you, filled with broth. A round of flat bread sits beside it, coarse with barley flour. Simple food, but solid. As you lift the bowl, the man watches you, not with expectation, not with judgment, only with the quiet patience of one who has seen many strangers pass through this hall. We live from this land, the man says. The ingredients in your broth all came from the land. The bread from the land. That is how we live, he says as he lifts his bowl. We take what the land gives and make it last. We work in the summer so that we do not starve in the winter. That is how it has always been. He drinks, then sets the bowl down. The fire crackles in the quiet. He looks at you again, considering. Eat, he says. When the bowl is empty, we work. The food is warm, filling. The broth carries the deep salt of the sea. The bread, a quiet, steady weight in your hands. As you eat, no one speaks further. Words are not needed here. Not for eating, and not for resting. When the bowl is empty, the man rises. There is no rush, no urgency, only the quiet rhythm of a day unfolding, as it always does. He lifts his cloak from a peg by the door, drapes it over one shoulder, and gestures for you to follow. The Longhouse door swings open to the brightness of the afternoon, the air thick with the scent of earth and sun-warmed wood. The farmhouse hums with its own quiet life. A woman kneels by the small garden beside the house, her fingers working carefully in the soil. A pair of boys walk along the fence line, carrying bundles of dried grass for the animals. The man leads you toward the barn, a long, low building set against the windward side of the hill. As you near, the scent of hay thickens, mingled with the sharp musk of animals and the damp coolness of stored grain. Inside, the light is softer, filtered through the gaps in the wooden beams. Barrels stand stacked along one wall, their lids marked with carved runes, symbols that tell what lies within, which harvest it belongs to, how long it must last. At the center of the space, a wooden trough sits half filled with grain, the pale husks catching the afternoon light. The man steps forward, running his fingers through the grain, letting it slip through his hand. The motion is absent, thoughtful. This, he says, is the difference between hunger and plenty. He turns to you. You will grind it, he says simply. He moves toward a heavy stone quern, its surface worn smooth by years of use. A broad, flat stone sits atop another, with a wooden handle set into its side. He places a handful of grain onto the lower stone, then grips the handle, turning it with slow, practiced strength. The upper stone grinds against the grain, the sound low and rhythmic, like the breath of the earth itself. A fine dust rises as the husks break apart, and beneath the meal gathers, rough, uneven, but ready for bread, for porridge, for whatever the season demands. He steps back, nodding for you to take his place. This is work for the patient, he says. It is not like a blade striking a shield. It does not ring out across the land. But this, he gestures to the slow turning stone, is what keeps men standing. The full belly does more for a warrior than a fine sword. His words settle into the air like stones into still water. He watches as you take the handle, as you press your weight against the stone. It is heavier than it looks, resistant, demanding. It does not yield easily, but with time it turns. The grain cracks beneath it, breaking down, shifting toward something useful. The man nods once, satisfied. Good, he says. Now keep going. There is always more to be done. Outside, the farmstead continues its quiet, steady rhythm. The wind moves through the grass. The sheep graze in their pasture. The hammer rings against the anvil. The day stretches onward, unhurried, unbroken, as it has for generations. The stone turns beneath your hands. The grain breaks apart. The fine meal gathers at the edges. There is no rush, no need for urgency, just the movement, the wait, the patience. After a time, the man places a hand on the quern, stilling it. That is enough, he says, for now. He lifts the gathered meal, running it through his fingers, nodding once before setting it aside. He gestures toward the door. Come, he says. There is another kind of work to do. You follow him outside, into the gold of the late afternoon. The farmstead is quieter now. The earlier hum of tasks, the sounds of voices and movement, have softened into something gentler, more settled. The wind carries the scent of fresh cut hay, of damp earth, where the river runs beyond the fields. The man leads you toward the edge of the farmstead, where the land slopes gently down toward the water. There, nestled in the shade of a great ash tree, is a low wooden bench. He gestures for you to sit. "You have worked," he says. "Now you must rest." He lowers himself onto the ground beside the tree, stretching one leg out before him, resting an arm across his knee. For a long moment, he says nothing. He only looks out across the river, watching the way the light catches the ripples, the way the reeds sway in the wind. "This," he says at last, his voice quieter now, "is also part of the work." The wind moves through the branches above, rustling the leaves, stirring the grass. The river flows on, unbothered by the weight of the world. "A man cannot plough all day," he continues. "He cannot swing an axe from sunrise to sunset. If he tries, his hands will fail him when he needs them most. Strength is not just in what we do. It is in knowing when to stop." He leans back against the tree, tilting his face slightly toward the sky. The land rests in winter. The sea is not always rough. Even the gods sleep. His voice trails off, leaving only the wind, the water, the hush of the farmstead, settling into the softness of the evening. The weight of the day, the work, the movement, it all drifts away like husks caught in the breeze. For a while, there is nothing to do but sit, to listen to the wind in the branches, to watch the light shift across the water, to let the body grow heavy, the breath slow, the mind quiet. The land is exhaling, releasing the last warmth of the day into the cooling air. The man beside you does not move. His breathing is steady, his eyes half closed, as though he could sit here until the stars appear, untroubled by the passing of time. This is a world before the ticking of clocks, before roads were measured and mapped. There is no parchment stamped with the weight of law, no bell to tell you when to rise or when to sleep. Time here is nothing but the slow turning of the sky, the shifting of the seasons, the way the land moves through its great, unhurried cycle. It is a world that does not ask you to be anything other than what you are. The water does not care where you have been. The wind does not measure what you have done. The earth beneath you holds no judgment, only the steady patience of something that has existed before you and will continue long after. The man breathes in deeply, his chest rising beneath the rough wool of his tunic. There is power in stillness, he says at last. His voice is softer now, edged with something that is not quite weariness, not quite reverence, but something in between. Most men never learn it. They think power is in the raising of a voice. But what is a warrior without rest? What is a field without the quiet of winter? He turns his head slightly, looking toward you, not to demand an answer, but as if to let the question settle in the space between you. The gust of wind moves through the trees, sending a rustle of leaves to the ground. The light is different now, stretched longer, turning this beautiful Norse land to gold. The farmstead is sinking into evening, into the gentle exhale that comes when the work is done and the night is near. The man exhales through his nose, as if satisfied with something unseen. Then, without hurry, he pushes himself to his feet, brushing his hands against his tunic. "Come," he says. "The Longhouse is waiting." And just like that, the moment passes, not lost, not forgotten, only carried forward, like the water, like the wind, like the quiet that lingers in the spaces between. The Longhouse is warm with the breath of the fire, with the press of bodies, with the weight of 100 years of smoke caught in the beams above. The hearth at the center of the hall burns low now, its flames no longer leaping, but settled into a steady glow. It has started raining heavily outside, and so inside it is cozy and peaceful. The light shifts and moves across the faces gathered here, deepening the hollows of cheeks, catching in the glint of eyes that have seen many seasons pass. These people have gathered, as they do when the day is done, when the work is finished, when the fields are quiet and the animals are fed. The benches are full, bodies leaning in close, shoulders brushing against wool and fur. Some sit cross-legged on the packed earth floor, younger ones pressing forward, eager to listen. A child nestles against his mother's side, his small fingers curling into the folds of her cloak. The elders sit at the far end of the hall, their presence unmistakable, not because they demand it, but because it has been earned. They are not kings, not warriors in the way of the young, but something older, something deeper. They hold the weight of memory, the stories that stretch beyond the lives of those who sit before them. The oldest among them is Kettle the Wise, his beard long and grey, resting against the thick wool of his cloak. His hair is still full, though white as the snow on the mountain peaks, and his skin is weathered, lined by a lifetime of wind and salt. His eyes, though heavy with years, are sharp, quick, knowing. His tunic is simple, the deep brown of undyed wool, fastened at the shoulder with a silver brooch in the shape of a raven. An old piece, tarnished but well kept. Beside him sits Thora Hearthkeeper, a woman of many winters, her presence quiet but commanding, her hair long and silver is braided thick, coiled over one shoulder, tied with a leather cord. Her face is lined, but not with the deep furrows of sorrow. Hers are the soft creases of laughter, of long years spent tending, caring, watching over. She wears a cloak of dark blue, clasped with a brooch of polished amber, its surface worn smooth. Around her neck hangs a string of glass beads, each one a different shade, collected over a lifetime. On her other side is Jorund One Hand, though no one speaks his name as though it is a loss. The sleeve of his tunic is pinned at the shoulder, empty, but he wears it without shame. His face is broad, his nose once broken, but long since healed. His beard is shorter than Kettle's, streaked with grey, his hair tied back in a thick knot. His tunic is deep red, belted at the waist, a small knife tucked into the leather. His one remaining hand is strong, thick-fingered, the palm calloused. He does not smile often, but when he does, it comes like a sudden break in the clouds, brief but warm. Around them, the others settle. There is no command to be silent, no need for it. The hush comes naturally, the quiet weight of a people who have gathered like this for as long as they can remember. The rain pours outside, the fire crackles inside, sending a flicker of light up the length of the hall. The shadows move against the walls. The elders do not look at one another, but they do not need to. They know why they are here. They know what must come next. The stories are waiting. It is Kettle who speaks first. His voice is low, worn by years, but steady. It carries through the Longhouse like the tide, rising and falling, drawing all into its pull. You have all seen the wolves, he begins. When the nights grow long, when the snow lies heavy on the hills, you have heard them in the distance, howling, their voices cutting through the dark. A few heads nod. The child curls closer to his mother's side. Kettle's eyes gleam in the firelight. They are kind eyes, and everyone feels safe in this space, as do you. But do you know of the two great wolves, the ones that chase the sun and the moon? Murmurs now, a rustle of anticipation. He exhales, nodding. Yes, Skoll and Hatti, he says. The wolves that run across the sky. He leans forward slightly, resting his hands on his knees. In the beginning, when the gods shaped the world from the bones of Ymir, they set the sun and the moon in the sky, so that night and day would follow one another. But the wolves, the wolves, they would not let the heavens be at peace. They were born of an old giantess, deep in the forests, where the light of the gods does not reach. No man, no god knows their father, but their hunger is greater than any creature that walks this world. His voice deepens. Skoll, the bold one, chases the sun, always running, always hungry, his paws pounding across the sky. And Hati, his brother, chases the moon, never slowing. The rain falls outside. The fire flickers. The gods feared the wolves, Keto continues, his gaze sweeping across the gathered faces, his voice softer now. For they knew that if ever Skoll caught the sun, or Hati the moon, the world would fall into darkness. So they set the sun on its course, swift as an arrow, pulled by the chariot of Sol, the sun goddess. And behind her, always behind, came Skoll, his breath hot against her heels. He pauses, letting the image take root in the minds before him. And the moon? A voice asks, a child, small but bold. Keto smiles, a flicker of approval in his eyes. The moon rides swift as well, driven by Mani, who guides its path. But Hati is ever behind him, running, running, never far. He looks towards the fire, watching the embers shift, as though seeing something distant. There will come a day, he says, quieter now, when the wolves will run faster than the gods, when Skoll will catch the sun, and Hati the moon, and the sky will go dark. That day will be Ragnarok, the end of all things. Silence settles over the hall, thick as the woolen cloaks draped over shoulders. Then, after a moment, Thora Hearthkeeper exhales through her nose, shaking her head. That is for another time, she says, reaching for the cup of mead beside her. The wolves have not caught their prey yet. A murmur of agreement, ripples through the hall. The air is lighter now, the weight of fate pushed aside, at least for tonight. Kettle nods. Not yet, he says, lifting his own cup, the firelight catching in the silver rim. The sun still rises. The moon still moves across the sky. For now, the world holds. The Longhouse hums with quiet. The first story lingers in the air, in the flickering light of the fire, in the slow, thoughtful breaths of those gathered. Outside, the rain continues, and it is Thora Hearthkeeper who speaks next. She does not clear her throat or raise her voice, but when she begins, all eyes turn toward her. Her voice is rich, smooth as well-worn wool, carrying the weight of time. You have all seen the stars, she says, spread like scattered grain across the sky, and you have seen them move, slow and steady, through the seasons. But do you know who placed them there? Some shake their heads. Others simply wait. Thora shifts in her seat, adjusting the drape of her cloak. The amber at her throat catches the firelight, glowing deep and golden. There was once a man named Vestane, she begins. Quiet man, a careful man. He lived alone, far in the north, where the winters are long and the nights are longer still. His house was small, tucked between the trees, where the wind could not find it. His fire burned steady. His hands were skilled, and he wanted for nothing. But there was one thing he loved more than all else: the night sky. Every evening, when the last light of the sun faded from the mountains, Vestane would step outside, wrap himself in his thickest cloak, and watch the heavens turn. He knew each star by heart, knew the way they followed one another across the sky, knew the way they returned, season after season, without fail. She pauses, her fingers brushing idly against the beads at her wrist. The rain falls, the fire pops. One winter, she continues, the sky was darker than before. Some of the stars were missing. Vestane watched night after night, waiting, but they did not return. He could not bear the sight of the empty sky. the hollow spaces where light had once been. So he made a choice. He took up his staff, wrapped his warmest furs around him, and set out beneath the heavens. He walked beyond the trees, beyond the frozen rivers, beyond the mountains, until the land itself seemed to end. And there, at the edge of all things, he found a great loom, larger than any hall, its frame made of ice, its threads woven with strands of silver light. The hall is utterly still now, listening. At the loom stood a woman, tall and quiet, her hands moving through the threads. Vestane watched as she worked, weaving new stars, placing them into the sky, one by one. Thora exhales softly, as if she can see it herself, the loom shining in the darkness, the woman's hands sure and steady. He asked her, "Why have some of the stars gone?" She did not stop her work, but she answered him, "They have dimmed, as all things must. Nothing can shine forever." Vestane stood for a long while, watching the silver thread pass between her fingers. Then he said, "Let me help you." The woman did not laugh. She did not shake her head. She only stepped aside and said, "Then weave." And so he did. He did not know how at first. His fingers fumbled, the silver thread slipping from his grasp. But he was a careful man, a quiet man. He watched, he learned, and slowly he began to weave. Together, they placed the stars back into the sky. When Vestane grew tired, he rested. When he grew hungry, the woman handed him a bowl of warm milk, sweet with honey, though he did not see where it had come from. And when the work was done, when every missing star had found its place again, the woman looked at him and said, "You have done well." He bowed his head, though he did not know if she was a goddess or something older still. Then he turned, walked back the way he had come, back across the ice, back across the frozen rivers, back to his little house, tucked between the trees. But every night, when he looked up, he saw the stars he had placed with his own hands. and so do we. Thora falls silent. The fire burns low. Someone exhales softly, a sound half like wonder, half like sleep. The Longhouse is quiet now, cozy from the rain outside, wrapped in the warmth of firelight and the steady breath of those gathered. The weight of Thora's story lingers in the air like the last light of evening before the sky fades fully to night. Some sit with their eyes half closed, not asleep, but near enough. The world outside is distant now, forgotten. It is Jorund One Hand who is the last to speak. He lifts his chin slightly. His voice is low and steady when he begins. There was once a fisherman, he says, who had no name. A soft murmur ripples through the hall at that. A story without a name is a rare thing. Jorund's lips curve slightly, the closest thing to a smile. Not because he had never been given one, he clarifies, but because he had given it away. He lets that thought settle before continuing. He lived by the sea, alone, with only his nets and his boat. He did not speak much, for there was no one to speak to, and he did not want for much, for the sea gave him all he needed: fish for his supper, water to drink, the salt air to fill his lungs. But one winter, the sea grew restless. The waves rose higher, the winds sharper. The fish swam deeper, away from his nets. Day after day he went out, and day after day he came back empty-handed. He should have been afraid. A man alone cannot fight the sea. But he was not afraid, because he had long ago made a promise, one that he did not speak of, even to himself. And so, one evening, when the wind had stilled and the water was like black glass, he set out again, rowing past the rocks, past the shallows, past the place where the land could still be seen. The night was clear, the stars high above. and when he looked down, he saw them reflected in the water, as if the sky had opened beneath him. Jorund pauses, running his thumb absently along the edge of his belt. The firelight flickers against his face, carving deep lines of shadow. And then, he says, he heard a voice. The whole listens, utterly still. It was not a loud voice, Jorund continues. Not a voice like thunder, nor a voice like wind. It was quiet, like the tide when it slips over the sand. The breath of the fire shifts, settling deeper into the embers. It said, "You have come far." Jorund exhales, his gaze distant, as if seeing it himself. The fisherman did not answer right away. He only rested his hands on the oars, watching the dark water. Then, at last, he said, "Not far enough." The voice was silent for a long while. The fisherman listened to the stillness, to the soft lapping of the water against the boat, to the quiet hush of the night. Then the voice spoke again. "What do you seek?" it asked. The fisherman did not know how to answer. He had come because something had called him, something deep and old as the tide itself. And as he sat there, floating in the hush of the night, he felt a kind presence. Not something seen, not something spoken, but something known. The air around him was different now, softer somehow, like the first breath of morning before the world wakes. A feeling of peace settled over him, quiet and deep, like the lull between the waves. And then he understood. He had come not for fish, not for riches, not for anything that could be held in his hands. He had come for the silence, for the stillness, for the knowing that he was part of something vast, something endless, something that would carry on long after him, just as the sea had always done. The fisherman closed his eyes, let out a slow breath, and when he opened them again, the tide shifted beneath him, gentle as a hand upon his shoulder, and he knew it was time to return. He had found what he had come for. Jorund sits. The fire has burned low, the glow of the embers barely reaching the far corners of the Longhouse. The air is thick with warmth, with the scent of wood smoke and wool, with the steady, drowsy breath of those who have already drifted into sleep. The stories have ended, but their echoes still linger. Outside, the rain still falls. The man who brought you here, your guide, your teacher, your companion through this day, stands, stretching his broad shoulders. He nods toward you, then gestures toward a quiet corner of the Longhouse, where a warm bed has been laid out, ready for you. It is set apart from the others, tucked away where the light does not quite reach, where the hush of night settles deepest. You will sleep here, he says simply. There is nothing else to be said. No need for words of parting. No need for anything more than this moment. The quiet, the warmth, the steady comfort of a place that is safe. The rain falls outside, and the sounds of the Longhouse are gentle now. The low murmur of the last voices fading into silence. Sleep is already pulling at you, heavy and deep, like the tide drawing out to sea. As your eyes close, you hear the softest sound, the rain falling on the ground, the shifting hush of the world turning, the steady rhythm of a life older than memory. The Longhouse holds you. The land holds you. And sleep takes you, safe and warm, in this ancient Viking world. Your body is softening. Your mind is quieting. You are exactly where you are meant to be. You can let go of any thoughts that do not serve you. You are wrapped in warmth, in safety, in rest. The world is taking care of itself. You can let go. You are supported, just as the earth supports you. Your breath is slow, steady, peaceful. Every part of you is unwinding into rest. You are allowed to rest without guilt or worry. You are floating deeper and deeper into sleep. You can trust that everything is unfolding as it should. You are weightless, calm, free. You can surrender to the quiet rhythm of the night. Sleep is washing over you like a gentle tide. You are drifting into deep, nourishing rest. Your thoughts are soft, like clouds passing by. You are welcoming sleep with open arms. You are loved. You are cared for. You are enough. Nothing is urgent. The night holds you. You can let your body sink into comfort and ease. Your breath is guiding you into sleep. Everything you need is already within you. The world is quiet, and you are part of that quiet. You are arriving into the deepest peace you have ever known. Sleep is a gift, and you are accepting it fully. You are safe. You are at peace. You are asleep. Your body is softening. Your mind is quieting. You are exactly where you are meant to be. You can let go of any thoughts that do not serve you. You are wrapped in warmth, in safety, in rest. The world is taking care of itself. You can let go. You are supported, just as the earth supports you. Your breath is slow, steady, peaceful. Every part of you is unwinding into rest. You are allowed to rest without guilt or worry. You are floating deeper and deeper into sleep. You can trust that everything is unfolding as it should. You are weightless, calm, free. You can surrender to the quiet rhythm of the night. Sleep is washing over you like a gentle tide. You are drifting into deep, nourishing rest. Your thoughts are soft like clouds passing by. You are welcoming sleep with open arms. You are loved. You are cared for. You are enough. Nothing is urgent. The night holds you. You can let your body sink into comfort and ease. Your breath is guiding you into sleep. everything you need is already within you. The world is quiet, and you are part of that quiet. You are arriving into the deepest peace you have ever known. Sleep